I always say that the hardest thing to do is to ask a good question because it requires you to know like a whole bunch of stuff about the person you're asking the question to. You gotta know like all this context, like who they are, how knowledgeable they are in a certain topic, how they think about a certain topic, certain things that you probably shouldn't ask about that topic because it might make them feel in a negative way. How do you ask a question that makes them feel in a positive way, but maybe slightly challenged because you want them to be like introspective as they answer the question? So much nuance that goes into it that I think, from the beginning of Interact, and I'm sure you've experienced this with clients you've worked with, the number one thing that we always get asked is, oh, like what questions should I ask? How many questions should I ask? And it's very interesting to me because I feel like the answer to that is like self-evident almost. Like if you know your audience well enough, you'll know how many questions they're willing to answer. You'll know how they want to be asked, how they want to speak, what they want the answer choices to be like, all that kind of stuff. And it only comes from that like deep understanding of who the audience is. And I think that that's just like not something that has been taught in marketing for a really long time. It just no one it's always an afterthought like, oh yeah, know your audience. But from your perspective, again, like how do you think about like approaching building that muscle if somebody is not, in that kind of realm where like they've spent a lot of time understanding and getting to know their audience? Like, where do you start?
I love Joanna Weeb for giving me this term, but it's called copy stalking. And you start by going to the place where your audience hangs out. So, definitely know who that is. Definitely narrow it down so that you have, talking to a businessman is going to be a lot different than talking to a college student. So you want to understand who your audience is, where they hang out. And I think Reddit forums are a great place to start. Some kind of forum, if you can find a Discord community, whatever kind of community where people are just chatting and you have that layer of internet anonymity. So people are actually going to kind of show up and be vulnerable and really give you the juice. So I think Reddit is a beautiful place to go and see what people are struggling with, see what the actual phrases are that light you up and say, "Oh, that sounds really interesting." And just create like this mass document of all of these little catchphrases or problems that you see, keywords that they're using, even particular jargon, because that's going to help you again have them feel like you're talking to them. There's a sense of genuineness from you, but more so, you want to be able to speak to your audience. Again, if they're toddlers, you're going to want to talk to them differently than if it's a Harvard professor. And so you just want to know, how am I showing up so that they'll listen?